All right, so once you have the radiator cap removed, I already showed you the possible things to look out for. Also, the oil and water mixture, and also the rust. Next, what you're going to look for is radiator fluid. Is radiator coolant present in the radiator? Okay, so when you inspect the inside of the radiator, be sure that you see one of the fluids inside of the radiator. Any of these three fluids inside of the radiator. If not, then it's you don't have to mark it off your list, but you just want to make sure that this person that you're buying a vehicle from, or either that used car dealer that you're buying a vehicle from, is selling you something that has good maintenance history, at least. Even if they had checked it before they wanted to sell it, that they at least have some type of morals to put the right amount of fluids in it, the right type of fluid in it, to ensure that the customer sees the right stuff that's included in the purchase of that vehicle. So you just want to make sure you see any of these three colors inside of the radiator. Don't get the long life confused with rust, because you're going to automatically be able to tell the difference. You also have the conventional, the green type, that we all, come to know over the years. And you have the global. The global type is kind of a mixture of them both. So that global is, is available for any vehicle. So you want to make sure that you look at it to make sure that that's the right type of fluid inside of the radiator. All right, so let's talk about the next part of the inspection, the engine drive belt. This is the belt that uh, kind of drives the engine. The you have the you have the radiator, not the radiator. I apologize. You have the alternator. You have the power steering. That belt drives on all those things. Most vehicles have one belt, or either multiple belts. But in this example, in the image that I'm showing you right now, is a one belt system. So what you're going to want to do is grab your flashlight, the flashlight that we talked about in the beginning of the tools needed video. You're going to grab your flashlight and look at the belt. See this belt at the bottom here? This is a belt that is no good. Okay, if you see a belt that is looks anything like this with cracks on it, you're going to want to take a note of it on your notepad and write it down, so that at the end of our complete inspection, we can go back to the owner and let them know that these are the things that we saw that was wrong with that vehicle. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't buy a vehicle. Well, I don't want to say you don't want to buy it, but this is not something that would, that's catastrophic. This is something that can be replaced, but you just want to make sure you make a note down so we can get those things checked off the list. And if we're really interested in buying a vehicle, you can subtract that money from the price of the vehicle to make it a better bang for your deal. Next, what we're going to want to check is the valve cover. The valve cover is what the oil cap is connected to. Okay, some engines may have two of them, and some engines may have one. The engines that have one valve cover gasket, or one valve cover, is more likely a four-cylinder. An engine that has two valve cover gaskets, or two valve covers, is most likely a V6 or a V8 engine. So what we're going to be looking for is we're going to grab our flashlight and we're going to be looking around the valve cover to look for wetness and oil. Here's a little thing that you can tell to really know if something is leaking. If dirt gathers to it, it's a leak. It's oil is always gonna attract dirt, because what it is trying to do is it's gonna stick, because all of the dirt is going over that, and it's not going to just blow past. It's going to stick to it. So that's what you want to look out for. All the edges and the corners of the valve cover, you're going to be inspecting with your flashlight, and you're going to be looking to be sure that, it's not leaking. If it is, I don't want to say mark it off the list. It's nothing catastrophic, but what you're going to want to do is take a note down on your notepad. So at the end of the deal, we can go back to the seller or the dealer and say, look, these are some things that of concern, and we may want to subtract that from the total price of the vehicle. So it's pretty simple, like I showed you in the beginning. You just kind of inspect it with your flashlight to be sure it's not wet. Okay, so that's what you're going to be looking out for. All right, so next we're going to be looking at the engine oil pan gasket. The oil pan gasket, or the oil pan, is out on the lower portion of the engine. This is where you change the oil, wherever the bolt is to change the oil. As you can see in the image here, the drain bolt, that whole thing there is the oil pan, and the gasket is right beneath it, and that provides a seal from the engine block to the bottom. So when these things leak, they don't look too great, and I know you probably owned a vehicle before. You've probably seen some of the oil leak on your driveway, and that's what that is pretty much. So what you're gonna want to do is, I know you may not be able to check most vehicles, but the ones that you can check, the towel that I told you about in the beginning of the tools needed video, you're going to pull that out and look underneath. You're going to kneel down on that towel, and you're going to inspect with your flashlight to see if there's any leaks, any wetness. The image at the lower bottom here, you're going to look for something of that nature. If it's wet like that, then there's a leak. Okay, you're gonna write it down, take a note of it down on your notepad, and you're just going to subtract it from the total price of the vehicle. You work it out with the owner if you're interested in that vehicle. Okay, so the easier ones to check are the trucks, because they sit tall and high, and they make easier for checking. But the cars that you can't see, you just try your best to see if you can peek under there. Most likely you will. And a better way to check that is you can check it from the front of the bumper, kneel down with your flashlight and just peek under there and just check it out. All right, so that's pretty much the basic stuff, the basic inspection. But this basic inspection is so powerful because, like I said, all the time, I see people do it all the time. They miss these basic things. This is so easy and simple to do. I'm telling you, you can't mess this up. This is the way that you inspect the engine of a good used vehicle. You make notes of it, just as I've showed you and directed you to, and you'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine with the basic things that I've shown you, and you'll be armed and dangerous. And whoever that's trying to sell you something that's just total junk, you're gonna be able to recognize that in the beginning. So that's that for the engine inspection. I'll see you in the next video.